So, imagine you are building a skyscraper,
Right.
but the steel beams actually tap you on the shoulder to suggest a better load-bearing design, like while you're actively holding the wrench.
That is quite the image.
Right. But welcome to the new reality of software development. I mean, technology is just no longer this static blueprint. The tools we use have become these active, reactive participants in the whole building process.
Yeah, we are seeing just a complete architectural shift right now because, for decades, your input led to a very predictable linear output.
Exactly.
But now those systems are almost organic. They're analyzing their own environments and correcting course in real time.
It's wild. So our mission today for this deep dive is to unpack this massive stack of technical news from the desk of Andrew Kagan.
It is a big stack this week.
Oh, massive. We want to show you exactly how this shift is playing out. So we're looking at a cross-section of weekly updates covering Azure, Microsoft 365, Power Platform, DevOps, AI, security, learning, and some broader industry trends too.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly. The goal here is to really extract the signal from the noise for you, so you don't drown in information overload. And, the main theme connecting all these random updates is just that AI has graduated.
Absolutely.
It's no longer just a neat little chat window. It is fundamentally rewriting how we, build, host, use, and secure literally everything.
Yeah, and the InfoQ 2026 Cloud and DevOps Trends Report captures this transition perfectly, I think.
Oh, yeah. What does they say?
They basically declare that AI has officially moved from the experimentation phase into full-scale enterprise execution.
Right.
And the most visible symptom of this is the shift from, individual coding assistants where a single developer gets autocomplete suggestions.
Yeah, the old way.
Exactly. Moving from that to team-level autonomous agents that manage entire workflows on their own.
I actually noticed looking at those InfoQ notes that this shift is causing massive ripple effects in completely unexpected areas, like FinOps.
Oh, the financial operations teams are definitely feeling it.
They are scrambling because AI token usage is now this major, completely unpredictable operational expense.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, you monitored server uptime, right? You looked at storage costs.
Very predictable.
Right. But now, companies are essentially paying for machine thought processes by the token. And they are really struggling to correlate that massive AI spending with actual measurable developer productivity.
Well, compute power is the new premium currency.
Yeah, it really is.
And alongside this whole race forward into AI, the report highlights a huge pullback to infrastructure fundamentals. Like cloud reliability and multi-region design are totally dominating the conversation again.
Which makes sense with the recent outages.
Exactly. We've seen some high-profile cloud provider outages recently. And it's this harsh reminder that deploying a brilliant AI agent means absolutely nothing if the core data center hosting it just goes offline.
The lights have to stay on.
Yeah, and even the industry giants are feeling the pressure to justify their physical footprint while fighting these cloud wars. Like, analysts are heavily questioning Google's hardware strategy right now, for example.
After 10 years of Pixel phones.
Yeah, 10 years. The physical hardware has to justify its existence in a cloud-first ecosystem, and it's tough.
It is. And to manage this new enterprise reality, the tools developers use every day are just leveling up to an almost startling degree.
Oh, for sure.
Like Microsoft just open sourced this tool called Code Testing Generator. It's a polyglot unit test agent.
And polyglot meaning it handles multiple languages.
Exactly. It isn't locked into one programming language. It can autonomously write tests for Python, then switch to C#, and then move over to Go.
That's incredibly versatile.
And the performance metrics are just wild. It hits a 92.1% task completion rate.
Wow.
Yeah. To put that in perspective, stock GitHub Copilot was hitting 78.9%. So we are looking at an agent that reliably handles the entire testing lifecycle across a massive code base.
That level of autonomy is incredibly powerful, but it does introduce a steering problem, right?
How so?
Well, when an AI can do that much on its own, developers need better mechanisms to control and direct it. You can't just let it run wild.
Oh, right.
So GitHub is addressing this directly in the Copilot app by introducing these specialized /commands. They basically act as distinct operational modes for the AI.
Oh yeah, these / commands feel like a cheat code for software architecture.
They really do.
You can just type /plan to have Copilot take a massive feature request and break it down into logical, manageable chunks for a sprint.
Very useful.
Or you can use /spar, where Copilot takes on the persona of the devil's advocate It aggressively pressure tests your architecture choices before you write a single line of code.
I love that one.
It's so cool. And there's also /autopilot for chaining together multi-step maintenance tasks. But the command that really caught my attention is /rubberduck.
Yes. The digital modernization of a classic developer troubleshooting technique.
Right, because typically, rubber ducking means explaining your broken code out loud to an inanimate object like a rubber duck until you realize your own stupid mistake.
We've all been there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this command brings in a second, completely different AI model to independently review the primary model's work.
Right.
And I have to say, my initial thought on this was pure skepticism.
Why is that?
Well, if my first AI model is supposedly this genius hitting 92% completion rates, why do I need a second AI to double-check its math?
That's a fair question.
I mean, isn't that like hiring two identical contractors to build the exact same house, just in case one forgets to build a wall?
Okay, I see where you're coming from, but the flaw in that analogy is assuming the two AI models are identical contractors.
Well, they aren't.
Not at all. They are fundamentally different entities. Different AI models are trained on completely different data sets. They use different underlying architectures, and their neural pathways have different parameter weights.
Okay, so it's not just a copy-paste.
Exactly. When you use /rubberduck, you are basically having a master electrician inspect the structural integrity of a building designed by a master architect.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. The second model is prompted with a different context. It's looking for hidden assumptions, edge case logic flaws, or security vulnerabilities that the first model might have completely glazed over because it was just trying to generate working code.
Right. The first one is just trying to get the job done. That dual model approach actually ties directly back to the InfoQ report's warning about governance, I think.
It does, perfectly.
Because we can't just blindly trust a single agent anymore. Platform teams have to enforce this system of checks and balances using multiple specialized models.
Yep.
And we are seeing the surrounding ecosystem adapt to this faster pace too. Like Visual Studio Code 1.133 is rolling out with deeper editor integrations.
Which is great for everyday workflow.
Huge quality of life update. Plus, Azure DevOps Service Connections are finally replacing the headache of managing personal access tokens.
Thank goodness for that.
Right. And Intelligent Terminal Point 2 now includes native support for running local AI models right inside the command line.
Which is huge. But, if developers are routinely using secondary models for peer review and running local models directly on their terminals, the underlying compute engines have to evolve drastically to support that load.
Oh, for sure. The hardware has to keep up.
Exactly. We cannot run multi-agent autonomous workflows on last year's infrastructure.
Which explains the massive new wave of models hitting Microsoft Foundry right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we are seeing deployments like Grok 4.6. This is a frontier model boasting a 500,000 token context window.
500K is just staggering.
It really is. For context for you listening, 500K means the AI can hold the equivalent of multiple massive textbooks, or literally an entire enterprise code base, in its active memory at one time.
Yeah, it's not forgetting what you said 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. And that is specifically tuned for these long-running agents that need to remember complex organizational rules over weeks of operation.
But processing a 500K context window is computationally brutal.
Very expensive.
Right, which brings us back to that FinOps problem you mentioned earlier. So, to solve the cost issue, NVIDIA released Nematron 3.5 Lightning.
Tell me about that one.
It's a 30 billion parameter model, but it's built on an open mixture of experts, or MOE architecture.
Mixture of experts. Okay.
Yeah, in a MOE model, only a fraction of the neural network is active at any given time.
How does that work in practice?
Well, it's kind of like walking into a massive hospital. Instead of every single doctor in the building examining you for a sprained ankle, a triage nurse routes you strictly to the specialist you need.
Oh, I love that analogy. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so Nematron only uses 3 billion active parameters during inference. It saves massive amounts of compute cost while still delivering the intelligence of a 30 billion parameter system.
That is so smart. We're also seeing highly specialized models hitting the ecosystem, like LTX 2.5.
Right, the video one.
Yeah, it's an NVIDIA-accelerated open weights world model dedicated purely to video generation. But, having these models is really only half the battle.
Yeah.
How are we actually hosting them and securely connecting them to our enterprise data? Azure Content Understanding is stepping up here. moving to a 2.0 preview.
Which brings a lot of new capabilities.
It does. It brings native support for the new GPT-5 model series, and it introduces these specialized sync APIs designed entirely around supporting these complex agentic workflows.
And the most practical, immediate application for the enterprise in this space is happening in Azure Functions. They just introduced serverless agents.
Yes, I wanted to talk about this.
It's a profound architectural shift. It allows developers to inject AI directly into traditional legacy workflows to handle what Microsoft calls fuzzy judgment tasks.
Fuzzy judgment. I really want to break down this concept because it feels like a turning point.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's say you have an automated travel expense system, right? A human writes an email saying, quote, booked a $450 flight to Denver for the big client meeting next Tuesday.
A very standard email.
Very standard. Historically, trying to get a software script to extract the dollar amount, the currency, the destination, and the policy category from that messy human sentence required writing a brittle, terrifying pile of rejects.
Oh, regular expressions, the nightmare of every developer.
Pure nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
You had to code strict rules looking for dollar signs and specific string patterns, and literally one typo by the human and the rejects fails, breaking the whole system.
Because regex is entirely rigid. It looks for patterns, it doesn't look for meaning.
Exactly.
But serverless agents change that whole paradigm. You pass that same fuzzy, typo-ridden human email to the agent.
And what does it do?
The agent parses the intent of the text. It understands the context of a client meeting, applies the natural language expense rulebook of your specific company, and then cleanly outputs a perfectly structured database decision.
Wow.
It acts as this translation layer between chaotic human communication and strict back-end databases.
So it sounds like we're finally getting a digital concierge that sits between chaotic human language and strict database rules. I mean, are we officially attending the funeral for rejects?
I think we might be, honestly.
It's a happy day.
Yeah.
And between serverless agents handling fuzzy logic and Azure App Service, making it simpler to deploy ZIP packages directly from the portal, things are getting so smooth.
Very streamlined.
Plus, the new API Management AI Gateway tier, stepping in to govern the usage of all these models. The infrastructure layer is just getting incredibly sophisticated.
It is. But this sophisticated infrastructure isn't staying isolated in the engineering department.
Oh no, where is it going?
The mechanisms we just described are actively trickling up into the low-code platforms and the daily productivity apps that the rest of the business relies on.
Oh, right, the business layer. We see that happening immediately in Microsoft 365, actually. They're rolling out a preview of the new Work IQ developer tools.
Which is going to be huge for productivity.
Definitely. Copilot in SharePoint just received its August 2026 feature updates, and Copilot generally is undergoing major user-facing changes to boost daily productivity.
Yeah, and the convergence is most obvious in the Power Platform in Dynamics 365.
What's new there?
Well, Power Pages can now extend Liquid with server logic.
Just to clarify for everyone, Liquid is that open-source template language used to load dynamic content on web pages, right?
Exactly. And by integrating server logic into it, businesses can now build highly complex, dynamic external site experiences directly within Power Pages.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it completely bypasses the need to spin up and host a heavy custom web application from scratch.
Saving so much time. We're also seeing Copilot Studio introduce a new GitHub Copilot harness.
Right, changing the dev workflow.
Yeah, it completely changes how agent development works inside the studio. It shifts developers away from simple visual prompting and pushes them toward rigorous code-back testing for their agents.
A much more professional setup.
Definitely. But the update that really made me pause is happening in the data and power platform space.
The Power BI update.
Yes. Power BI is introducing a feature called TMDL View on the web. It basically allows users to edit their semantic data models as raw code directly in their browser.
Did a big change.
And my immediate reaction to this was just pure confusion.
Right.
I mean, low-code platforms like Power BI were specifically designed to abstract the code away behind drag-and-drop visual interfaces, right?
Oh, yeah, that was the original pitch.
So doesn't adding a feature to edit models as code completely defeat the core purpose of the platform for the average business user?
It definitely seems counterintuitive at first glance.
Right.
But TMDL, which stands for Tabular Model Definition Language, it solves a very specific bottleneck.
What's the bottleneck?
Well, when citizen developers use low-code tools, they eventually build applications so complex that the visual drag-and-drop interface becomes a tangled, unmanageable mess.
Ah, I can picture that. Spaghetti code, but visual.
Exactly. So TMDL represents that visual data model as raw human-readable text. Microsoft isn't forcing the beginner to write code. They're just removing the ceiling for the power user.
Oh, I see.
By exposing the code layer in the browser, a data analyst can easily run a find and replace across a massive model or track changes in a version control system.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, it merges the rigorous DevOps practices we discussed earlier with everyday business analysis. It ensures both the beginner and the expert have the exact interface they need.
It raises the floor for beginners while completely blowing the roof off for power users.
Exactly.
But, as we integrate these massive 500K context window models into our developer tools and our serverless Azure workflows and our low-code Power BI dashboards, these AIs are digesting our most sensitive, proprietary enterprise data.
The keys to the kingdom.
Literally. So security can no longer be this bolted-on afterthought. It has to be foundational.
Absolutely. The threat surface is expanding exponentially right now, and the ecosystem is forcing compliance.
Yeah, we're seeing that in Microsoft 365. Core features like cross-tenant free busy, mail tips, and calendar sharing were all being moved under the cross-tenant access policy.
Which gives administrators much better oversight.
Exactly. Centralized, granular control over exactly what organizational data leaks out to external partners or vendors.
And entered dynamic groups are also undergoing operational changes to tighten access control.
Oh, and speaking of tightening access, Microsoft is finally bringing down the hammer on SMS multi-factor authentication.
It is about time.
Right. Organizations have a hard deadline in coming 27 to move entirely to modern authentication methods. The era of receiving a text message code to log in is officially ending.
It had to happen. SMS relies on outdated telecom protocols that are just fundamentally insecure against modern attacks.
Like SIM swapping.
Exactly. Where a bad actor convinces your mobile carrier to port your phone number to their device and they just instantly intercept your security codes.
Terrifying.
It really is. So to combat these advanced threats across the board, Microsoft Entra is pushing strict guidance on enforcing true zero-trust architecture across every single cloud resource.
Yeah, and for developers building these new AI agents, Microsoft released guidance on building a Patch Tuesday MCP server using Azure Container Apps.
Let's define MCP for a moment for the listeners.
Go for it.
Model Context Protocol is essentially an open standard that dictates how AI models can securely plug into and read from external data sources.
Okay, got it.
And standardizing that connection is critical right now because the industry security trends are wildly volatile. AI is completely reshaping bug discovery.
Yeah, it's scanning everything.
Security researchers and bad actors alike are using AI agents to scan massive code bases. They're finding deeply buried vulnerabilities at an unprecedented scale.
Which is leading to absolutely massive Patch Tuesday releases from Microsoft every single month. I mean, when I look at the sheer volume of vulnerabilities being patched, I really have to wonder, are we actually becoming safer as an industry? Or are we just drowning in a sea of discovered flaws that IT teams can't possibly patch fast enough?
Well, in the short term, IT teams are absolutely drowning.
Yeah.
The operational burden of applying these massive monthly patches is severe. However, in the long term, we are systematically surfacing and fixing deeply hidden architectural flaws that have existed silently for decades.
So it's growing pains.
Exactly. The AI bug hunting phase is painful, but it's the only path to true systemic resilience. And this exact dynamic is why compliance frameworks like NIST SP 800-171 Revision 3 and FIPS, the Federal Information Processing Standards, they're no longer just recommendations.
No, they are mandatory.
Yeah, as Vicky Pelletri has been highlighting, these strict cryptographic and security baselines are becoming mandatory for survival.
And if we look even further down the horizon, there is a massive storm brewing around the fundamental mathematics of cryptography itself.
The quantum threat.
Yes. QuadSecure recently added its QuiProtect R3 post-quantum cryptography platform to the Carahsoft GSA schedule.
Which is a massive deal for the public sector.
A huge deal.
Yeah.
It allows government agencies to overlay quantum-resistant encryption onto their networks right now without having to completely rip out and replace their legacy infrastructure.
And the urgency there is driven by Q-Day, which is the theoretical point in the near future where a sufficiently powerful quantum computer can just run algorithms capable of breaking the current encryption standards that secure the entire global internet.
Which is a terrifying thought.
It really is. Agencies have to migrate to post-quantum cryptography, or PQC, immediately to protect data that is being harvested today for decryption tomorrow.
But there's a twist, right?
There is always a twist. At the exact same time, an Amazon researcher recently published a paper claiming a new quantum algorithm could potentially challenge the mathematical foundations of the very PQC standards we are currently trying to adopt.
So the math securing our secrets is literally in an active arms race.
It's wild.
It really is. I mean, the machines are getting impossibly smart. They're writing their own tests, parsing our fuzzy logic. The security landscape is becoming wildly complex, and the fundamental cryptography keeping our data safe is under active threat.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It is. With the industry moving this fast, keeping your own skill set patched and updated is basically just as critical as updating your Azure servers. We are like software that needs a patch for the human brain.
I like that. And continuous learning is really the only defense against obsolescence right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We found a few incredible resources in Andrew Kagan's stack to help you do exactly that.
Yeah, if you are feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of Copilot integration across Microsoft 365 and GitHub, there's a highly recommended video workshop included in the notes.
So what's it called?
It's titled Master Copilot Cowork, the complete end-to-end workshop. It's really designed to help you master day-to-day AI productivity.
That sounds super helpful. And for those of you leaning heavily into the multi-agent development space, there are the newly released Anthropic Academy courses.
Those are great.
Yeah, this serves as a comprehensive guide to mastering advanced Claude skills. Because, as we discussed with the /rubberduck command, operating in a multi-model reality where you leverage different AIs for different tasks is just becoming the industry standard.
It's mandatory at this point. And, if that entire segment on quantum threats and massive Patch Tuesdays had you sweating, you can start building a stronger personal foundation with the resource titled 15 Free Cybersecurity Tools Every Beginner Should Know.
Perfect place to start. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground in this deep dive.
It really did.
We started with the macro shift towards enterprise AI execution, looking at how 500K context models like Grok 4.6 and AI testing agents are literally rewriting the rules of DevOps.
Yep.
We explored how Azure serverless agents are finally bridging the gap between messy human intent and rigid databases, and how low-code platforms like Power BI are surprisingly embracing raw code to empower their users.
The TMDL update.
Exactly. And finally, we navigated the harsh new security realities, right? From the overdue death of SMS authentication to the AI-driven explosion of vulnerabilities and the looming quantum cryptography race.
And, the central thread running through every single one of these updates is autonomy.
Autonomy, yes.
The technology stack is no longer just waiting for instructions. It's capable of complex reasoning, environmental analysis, and just deep integration into both our infrastructure and our core business logic.
Which leads us with a really critical thought to mull over as we wrap up here.
What's that?
Well, if AI is now successfully writing 92% of the code, and it's finding the hidden security bugs and managing the Azure infrastructure by interpreting human intent, what exactly is the primary role of the human tech worker in 2027?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Perhaps we are no longer the ones pouring the concrete, writing the rejects, or tightening the bolts. Perhaps the true value of the human in the loop going forward is simply being the master architect.
I like that view.
The one who designs the parameters of the fuzzy logic that the machines execute, ensuring that these autonomous systems remain actually aligned with human needs.
It's a shift from being the builder to being the conductor.
Exactly. So the next time you sit down at your desk to start a project, ask yourself, are you manually building the skyscraper, or are you designing the rules for how it should grow?
Something to think about.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the desk of Andrew Kagan. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.